Well, welcome. As I said in my opening remarks this morning, I stand here almost as a proud papa in that this is 10 years worth of an idea that's been in my head. Actually, when Ashish Kote walked into my office 10 years ago, what I'm going to present to you today is actually the culmination of what he and I talked about 10 years ago. And it took a series of innovations to occur to finally get to this point. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm actually really excited. I actually know most of you, so I feel funny saying ladies and gentlemen. I think I'd prefer to say friends because I think I know most of you personally. So please, let's treat this as friends talking to friends. So if there's a question, normally I'm supposed to say hold questions till the end, but if you want me to pause and answer, please go right ahead. I'm looking at you, Leslie. You can. So please do that. But this is the culmination of a lot of vision that we've had over the last 10 years to get to this point. And it wasn't until AI got to the point that it was as powerful as it is that we've been able to get here. So with that, I am going to go through this. Here's what I'm going to talk about. If somebody wants to hold me honest to this, you can. But really what I want to do is I want to get to the demo as fast as possible so you all can start seeing this, so we can get off the slideware as fast as possible. But I want to start off with, go ahead and click once. I just want to ask, because I look at you and I saw Carol walk in. Here you have the head of all Capture, for all of Momentum. I know your title is bigger than that, but you have that. You have Leslie in charge of all of Capture. It's like, why does the process matter? And I think each of you would probably come back, go ahead and click, is that I just stole it. I will readily admit I'm going to give them, this is a page out of Shipley, so those of you who have seen it, I want to give paid debt to the person who put this together. But this is why, right? Most of us have been trained that capture matters. Why does capture matter? Because it has been proven time and again. I know everybody in here knows this, but I'm establishing the case for change here. It leads to higher win rates when done right, and it ultimately leads to reduced capture costs, because then you're not necessarily always chasing different deals. You're putting all your energy into the right deal. So that's why. But let me ask you a question before you click again. Let me ask the folks assembled here. Then why, I know everybody in this room wants good captures. Why aren't they happening to the level that you all would probably like? Anyone? What was that? Team's too busy pounding data into the system. What else? ADD. I have ADD. You're going to see him. I'm already thinking about Cats and the Cowboys. So, anyone else? So, what was that? It's hard. It is hard to do. So, when I talk to all of you, and as we are looking at, is this actually a product we want to bring to market? Because you got to figure that out first. Here's what I've been hearing, is that this industry, especially with LPTA, the training of capture managers, it used to be we all could go hire Lockheed's or Northrop's or big company A's, B's, or C's where they really had time to train capture managers. We could all go grab them and put them in our company, and we didn't have to train them because those big companies did the job for us. I'm guilty of that. They aren't doing that anymore, really. So there's fewer trained capture managers. And I put this half and half because this becomes important when I start talking about what we've done, is that a capture, the way that I view it, the way that TechnoMile views it, is that a capture is half science. Does everybody agree? It's analytics. You've got to analyze everything. That's the science part of it. And half art. AI can't replace the art side of this, the art of the deal. There's nothing I'm going to show you here today that can replace the human element of the art of the deal. But that's one reason that they don't do it. And also the good captures, I think you all would agree, a good capture is time consuming for it. And then because it's time consuming, I think most of you would agree, hey, a good capture, it's costly. So I'm only going to do a really good capture on a really big deal. So that is why we are introducing Capture Copilot. So everything that I'm showing you, I will readily admit, you'll see it. It is ready. We can go show it to you. A lot of this is pre-canned, and I'm going to show you why. But I'm prepared to stand in front of you and have Grant click on anything that you want to show you that this is actually real. It's just because of timing, and I'll show you timing why it goes through it. but this is Capture Copilot. So what you'll see here is you'll recognize this, and I'll get into the demo here quickly so we can spend most time there. So let's go ahead to the next slide. Instead of just showing it on a slide, I want to show it for real. So the point of a Capture Copilot is to get you through all the steps and actually have the machine do as much of that. Remember that half science, half art? Do as much of that science part as possible for you. So that's the whole point here. So go ahead to the next. So this is why I would ask you all to have this. When we started thinking about this, one of the main questions that we always get asked at TechnoMile is, what is your process? And we were very quick to say, well, you know, nobody does Shipley completely because Shipley is 96, you would know, 92, 96 steps with it. Nobody does all 96 steps, so they do a hybrid version of it. So we are asked routinely at TechnoMile, what process do you bring to bear? And instead of us saying, well, what is your process? We'll implement it. We at least wanted to start off with a process. So we took some of my history. All of you are very quick to say, you know, well, here's my process. So when I sat down with the team and we took a look at all the processes, we put together this, which I would submit to you is an industry best practice capture plan. You have to give it a name, so we chose WinPath for it, for the name. Everything you see there on the left, the total addressable market, barrier to entry, all that is the GovSearch AI. I keep pointing to Grant because I'm simply the pretty face. Everything you see here was done by Grant. So that's the GovSearch AI, building the top of the pipeline, pushing things forward. But I think most of you would agree, yeah, this is probably a pretty good capture plan. I hope most of you would agree this is probably a pretty good capture plan. Can I get an amen to that? Are we okay? It's good enough to get a start with, right? It has most of the steps in it. What you will notice is that there's little blue stars throughout all of that. We now have a Capture Copilot AI agent to address everywhere where you see a blue star. So the processes are on the top. The outputs, deliverables, artifacts are on the bottom. So everywhere that you see a blue star, we have an agent. Now, everywhere you don't see a blue star is simply because today is the day of Elevate, and this is what to get it done, tested, and comfortable enough I could stand in front of you. This is what we got done. We are turning out more agents. It takes a couple weeks to actually go through and test the agents to make sure they work and then get it actually implementable. So we are working on agents, and I'll talk to you in a bit about how we're actually also moving. I'm teeing myself up for the conversation I think we're having at 4 o'clock, which actually we're moving to a consumption-based model as well. So as we add agents, you can pick and choose which agents you want to use. But this is the capture plan, and everything I'm about ready to show you. The reason I wanted you all to have that is so you're not trying to guess where is Mick in the capture process when I start going through this. You can follow through with this. It's pretty much going to be top to bottom with how this gets executed so you can see it. So this is the capture plan that we've implemented for Capture Copilot. Any questions thus far? All right, so let's do it. So full disclosure, as Grant brings it up, as I said before, there's one screen I'm going to show you that we're just going to load real time. And what you're going to see is that the UI, the user experience, we built, let me take a pause and go back. So we were talking to Microsoft because, as everybody knows, we have a deployable system in Microsoft. We have a deployable system in Salesforce. And a lot of these agents are actually leveraging the TechnoMile platform. So everything we're going to show you, we're still working out with Microsoft, their Byzantine SKU structure and how to get all of that worked out. So all of you who have Microsoft understand the Byzantine SKU structure for that. So you will see that we are prepared to get Microsoft. I think we're in the final throes there. So we're talking about the Microsoft in the Q1, early part of Q1. So everything you see here. So what you're going to see is in Salesforce here today. But it's also, again, leveraging a lot of our that GovSearch AI backend. So this should look like a fairly similar screen for those of you who have your Salesforce setup. Does everybody kind of recognize this screen? This looks semi-familiar to you all. What you will see when we deploy Capture Copilot is you're going to see two things. You're going to see a Capture Copilot tab there, So go ahead and click that. And what you're going to see is this looks a lot like your scorecard. And we're not replacing your scorecard. So if you've spent time putting in your process and putting in everything for you for your scorecard, keep it. Run your capture. This one will fill out those same fields in your scorecard, but also it's for folks who are like, well, we really don't have a capture. I'd like to put in a more robust capture. You can utilize this scorecard as well. So that's one way to access it. And at the end, I'm going to show you the second way. I think Salesforce calls that, at least I'm told by Grant, this is called Astro. Yep. This is called Astro. If you click that, that's the Agentforce. So, and then click that down arrow beside customer background. Every single agent that you see down that left-hand side is also available here. So there's two ways to get to all these Capture Copilot agents. I'm going to walk you through the scorecard very bluntly because we spent time putting together the scorecard, and I want to give credit to the team for doing that. But I also wanted to show you there's other ways to get to the agents as well, which I'll show you at the very end of this presentation. So if you're looking at your placemat, hopefully you see a one-to-one articulation of the items that are on that placemat to the capture process down the left-hand side, there. So what will happen when we deploy this to you is that you would simply click on one of those, and it launches the AI. It launches the AI agent for you. So if you go to the first tab here, I wanted to show you the first tab. That's right. And then I'm going to click on it for the second tab. So if you walk through there, again, because since you're going to see a bunch of these screens, that's why I wanted everybody to have this out. It takes, let me go through information here of where it goes. So this is the background. This one, not so much. This is motherhood and apple pie. You probably know it, but who doesn't start a capture by actually understanding the customer? So this is beginning to understand the customer. But what I really want to do is let's go to the second tab, which is the second agent. Let's talk about, in a good capture, the next thing you're doing, like what's recent? What has recently happened with this customer that may affect this particular capture? Now, this is the reason that you see me clicking through this, is because the way that the UX works within Salesforce is that it consolidates all the information, processes the information, figures out the answer, and then displays it all. So I actually did this with my stopwatch one time. When you actually take some of this information, because you can't do a one-to-one prompt, and I'll explain why, like at a ChatGPT, and you time it from the moment you hit enter, ChatGPT builds it out, and then you hit end, it's roughly about the same amount of time. The difference is the user experience. In ChatGPT, you'll see it build as it goes. This collects it all, compiles the answer, and then it presents it. The second thing is, and I think this is, Mick, why buy Capture Copilot when I can do this in ChatGPT or the like? I'm going to give you several different answers to that. The first one is, let me talk about the data that it's searching behind the scene. The first piece of data is your data. This is on your system, so it's looking at your current opportunities, and it's saying, what it did is it's looking at, hey, have you pursued something with this customer before? Do you have a like-in-kind opportunity that you've searched before? Is there something that your company likes to do that we should be made aware of? So it's searching your data first. The second is it's searching our data, the TechnoMile data. We talked about the GovSearch AI database. You heard me talk about content. So it's searching the information that we've been able to assemble, to curate. So it's looking through that piece of data. The third piece of data that it looked through is we have it looking through .gov, .mil. I think those are the two primary ones. We have it looking through that data next. The next one is we're looking at highly verified sites. In other words, ones that have been connected to, I forget what the actual number is, but the highly trusted sites. There's actually numbers for that. And then the fifth is everything else. And the reason I actually ordered it that way is we are weighting the content that gives you this answer based upon where it came from. Because if it just comes from the internet as a whole, I know everybody in here trusts everything you get off the internet. Maybe I'm weird because I do not. So we weight that the least. So we have a weighting system that goes into the content that you're getting. So your information from TechnoMile, information from .gov, .mil, information from trusted websites, and we're saying that if you've been connected to, again, I forget the number, but that's what was happening. And it takes about 30 seconds to go through and produce the results. So as a capture manager, the second question that typically is, what's going on with this customer? And oh, by the way, specific to this opportunity. So if this is a cybersecurity opportunity, I forget, this is DC, yeah, this is a cybersecurity one. And so it's looking at, hey, it isn't just, in this case, I think we have DISA as the customer. It's looking for, yes, it's DISA, but DISA cybersecurity. What's going on with DISA and cybersecurity? So it's giving you recent events. Now you will see down here, it says type your message. You can, just like you do with ChatGPT and these others, you can say, okay, great answer. In fact, you can do this if you want, Grant. You can say, great answer. Can you give me, is there any more recent information I should be made aware of? So you can, so we've not preloaded, we've done all of the prompting, we've done all of the connecting to all the data sources, but you still, just like you've gotten used to with generative AI, you can still interact with it. And this comes back to, we're leveraging the Mila, which what we were talking about as well. That's all this within that framework. So you can continue to interact with that information that I just stated. So now I'm just going to walk through to show you example output of each one of these so you understand what it is that you're getting. So the first several are tell me about the customer. That's great. That's fantastic. I'll wait for this response to come back. The next thing that you're going to start wondering about is, well, what capabilities do I need to have in order to pursue this opportunities? And this does take about 30 seconds to get all this loaded up. So it'll go back through and it'll say, well, if it found anything else, it'll go back and give you more information on that. So I just wanted to show you can continue to interact with the data. The next one, you can click on the next one, which is we ask the system, again, all you have to do is click. If you go down, again, the left-hand side there, maps to your table mat there. So you can see the next thing you're asking it is, okay, for this opportunity, what capabilities do I need to have and what business requirements do I need to have to pursue this? So a little bit of just, hopefully everybody can go with me in understanding when we produce more and more and more and better information. So at this point, I will tell you this DCMA opportunity, this is just, we're expecting this to happen because there was already an existing contract out there, and we're expecting that there's going to be a recompete on it. It's not showing up in SAM.gov. It's not showing up on their forecast yet. We are just expecting that there is an existing contract. It's probably going to happen again because this is an ongoing concern. So we have very little information about this except for the current contract that is out there. And so that's what this is looking at right now. And it's going into the documents that it can find. It's going into, had you pursued this before, it's going into the previous RFP to take a look, just figure out, because as a capture manager, you're trying to figure out what capabilities do I need to have to be able to pursue this and what business requirements do I need to have in order to pursue that. And we lay all of those out here for you based upon what we found. Now, full admission, truth in advertising, sometimes when there's very little information known about it, the first time you run this, it may only give you 5 or 6. But this is why as you continue to mature the opportunity, as there's more information, this gets deeper and deeper and deeper. If it's an existing contract that's just going to get recompeted, it goes deep in the very beginning. Sir? So I have found, I'm looking at Yashasvi, because Yashasvi and I have worked on this. There is some. Probably would you say about 20%, 10% hallucination? And really it's not on these where I see the hallucinations, where I see some of the hallucinations. Later on, I'm going to get into win strategy, capture strategy, producing a capture plan. I see some there. I see more general. It's not as much hallucination as more. It's too general. It's not as specific as I'd like it. That's where I start seeing a lot of the issue. So I would say about right now at 10%, 20%. Love for you to look on it and click on it and tell me what you're seeing. But every time we see that, we go back and we hone the prompt and everything on that.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Please.
Because when you talk about using our own data, so are you talking about Salesforce fields? Are you talking about notes? Are you talking about activities? Are you talking about
All of the above.
Because that's where I would see there might be a problem in that if we've given bad information, right? We found bad information and like feedback.
So that's why, if everybody doesn't know Leslie from BAE. So Leslie, that's why we're not just using just your information. It gets weighted more, but it's not just your information. If we find contradictory information, as you'll see in here, we will tell you, hey, we saw this, but according to what we found from the government, this is what we're seeing there. But the reason that we're looking at your data first is you maybe captured this deal 5 years ago. And there was a process you went through there. Why, as most capture managers, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, did we compete this before? Did we win? Did we lose? If we lost, why did we lose? That's why we didn't want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're like, okay, we got to take a look at what you guys have. When I say we, an Agentforce agent inside of your instance. When it's Microsoft, it's the Microsoft Copilot inside of your Azure instance is looking. That's who's looking. TechnoMile is not reaching in, grabbing it, pulling it out, just to be clear. So this is the business requirements and then the capabilities. And then this goes back to your point, sir, about putting information in. So that's why in every one of these prompts, it says, would you like to insert these capabilities? You can just go ahead and say yes. So if you just type in yes, it then takes all of the capabilities, all of the requirements, and now puts those into fields inside of, in this particular case, in Salesforce. It takes all of those and begins to load it up. So with each one of these, it'll continue to load up your system with that information. Why do we do that? 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is persistence. As you collect all this information, we all know that these can last for 2 years. I was involved in one that lasted about 8 years. Information changes. You want persistence of that information, so you want it saved. So number 1, you want it saved where you can go back into it and take a look at what are these capabilities? You can remember it. You can run. Now, how many of you have a boss who said, hey, what are all the opportunities that we're chasing that had anti-drone technology or had cybersecurity or had cloud? And you're like, oh, I have to look through everything to figure that out. Here now you can run a report on capabilities and say, show me all the opportunities that had this capability. So that's number 1 reason that we have this information being stored. Well, this is number 1 way of having stored. But every single chat transcript that is accomplished here, that chat transcript gets stored as well. So if you're like, hey, what did the system tell me the last time I clicked on this? Then you see there's a related item up there that says chat transcripts. So every single transcript gets saved. Number 1, for you to go take a look at it. Number 2, when I say your information for the agents, it's looking through all of the output from all the previous transcripts as input to the next prompt or to future prompts. Because as you see in there, you're going to click on this probably at every stage as you go across the sales process. It's like, okay, you want to run it's been 4 months. You want to run recent events again. It's going to run your recent events. It'll look at the previous recent events to be able to say, hey, here's most recent events since the last time we presented that. So that's the chat transcripts.
You got questions?
Quick question on capabilities.
And I need to repeat your questions back. I forgot to do that. So yes, go ahead.
So question on the capabilities. Are they the same capabilities that are the TechnoMile defined that we just saw in the last session, or are those user defined for this module?
Yes and no. So she asked, the capabilities that you see here, are they the same capabilities that we TechnoMile? So right now, we're just grabbing whatever is in the system. We are in the process of running the process to actually try and marry those up so that way it's universal. So this is directly from as it gets delivered to you today, this is from those data sources, not from our capabilities. We are going to, in version 1.1, marry them up with our capabilities as well. But to be clear, there are bounded, I keep looking at Grant because Grant's the one who implemented all this. We have the bounded capabilities, which are about 176, I think, the last time we looked at it, capabilities, because we've gone through a very large amount of procurement and had AI run it and take a look at what all the capabilities that have come out. And we found that, I think it's about the 80% rule, 80 or 90%, that these 176 cover about 80%, 90% of all the capabilities that typically are in the procurements that we're seeing. And again, we have Rheinmetall, we have Blue Origin. Not many of you are launching rockets. We have help desks. So we've looked at all of these procurements, and we've come up with that 170. However, 76. However, government can always make new stuff up. And so therefore, we have unbounded capabilities. So we will show whether they're bounded, part of the larger ecosystem, or if they're unbounded. Today, I gave you a very long answer to your question. That's who I am, sorry. Today, as we deliver version 1.0 of this, it's whatever capabilities that are in the documents or that the AI determines, that's what the capability you need to have is. 1.1, what we're working on right now, is to match these up with our set of capabilities, bounded and unbounded. You're giving me a quizzical look like I just confused you even more.
Slower processor.
Yes, sir.
Are these capabilities the same, different, or separate from the ones that are tied to like the past performance libraries?
So the question was, are they tied to the past performance libraries? So how do I answer that question? Because what we're doing for the past performance on this is we have AI looking at the documents you've had and whatever it comes up with. And in a moment here, I'm going to show you a gap analysis that shows that. And then it's taking a look at these capabilities. So it's AI what's determining, are those the same capabilities?
Okay, yeah, but like right now, I can manually enter capabilities and tie them to past performance libraries.
Yes, you can.
And go into the past performance that you want to tie to each opportunity. So those capabilities, that's just a manual version of this, and it's all going to
Yes.
go together?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Did everybody hear that? I'm told I'm supposed to repeat it because it's hard to hear in the past. He was just asking the past performance capabilities, if you're putting those into the system yourself today, does this reference those past performance capabilities? And the answer is yes. Let me keep moving here. So now you have all your capabilities. The next question you ask as a capture manager is, well, for my company, which one of those capabilities do I have? What's my gap analysis? So we run a gap analysis. Now, where are we looking for the gap analysis? Where we're looking is we are looking at your past performance. We are looking out at FPDS, SAM.gov to take a look at what are the contracts that you won. And let's go take a look at all of the contracts that you've won and what capabilities that you had to have those contracts. Let's take a look at what your CEO is saying that your company wants to get into. Now, that gets into a problem with past performance because the CEO can say a lot of things. I know, I have one. So where is it the company is saying that you want to go and what's being said? If you're public, we look at your 10K and what capabilities you're saying you're doing in your 10K. So we're looking at all of that to determine, where are the gaps? So we took a look at all those capabilities, all those requirements, and we said, okay, you can see here up at the top, we're telling you, we analyzed this many capabilities. 9, we feel like there's a 100% match. 2, there was a partial match. So therefore, we feel like you're pretty good to go here. So then when you get down in here, it's actually telling you, hey, did you meet it? Did you not meet it? And then what's our basis for being able to say that you met it? Now, to your point about hallucinations, sir, this is where I'm seeing hallucinations on the false positive side that you have it. Well, actually, let me give you, for instance, we have the ability to take a UEI or multiple UEIs and we can act like we're you. All right, so I've gone in here with, I acted like I was Leidos one day. Don't tell them that. And put their UEI in here. And I ran through an opportunity, and it said you had to have a FedRAMP cloud capability. And it said that Leidos didn't have that. And then I just do a quick search on FedRAMP and Leidos. They say that they have it. My system told me they didn't have it. I just do a search on what Leidos says they do have. They say that they do have it. So that's when you say, sir, do you see hallucinations? I saw a hallucination there. It's like I call that a hallucination, where it is there, but for some reason the system didn't find it. So, but then funny enough, when I ran it again, and I just said, hey, can you try again? It found it. So, so we're trying to work on that so you don't have to say, try it again. Question?
The TechnoMile Capture Copilot, does that analyze incumbent performance?
No, not yet. You're looking ahead. That is what we're looking. So we have a list. It is not looking at incumbent performance yet. What I'm trying to figure out to answer that particular question, she asked, does the Capture Copilot analyze incumbent performance? We're trying to figure out how we do that, because most of that's in the CPARs. Otherwise, it's people telling folk stories, and those folk stories get handed down from person to person, and then we start believing the folk stories that we hear and not the reality. So we're looking at how to solve that question. I don't have it in version 1 of that. Just because if I don't believe it, I don't want to try and, have it as an option for you all. So we're trying to figure out how we solve that. So this is the gap analysis. After you do a gap analysis, the next question you're going to ask is, who's going to be competing on this? So again, we take all of those capabilities, we figure out who the customer is, and it isn't just, most of you put, if it's the Air Force, a lot of you just put Air Force as your customer in there. That's not the real customer. You all know it. It's really down somewhere at the Air Force Research Labs or somewhere at that level. But you don't want to change your CRM field for the account, because that matters to you guys and how you run your companies. So what we're looking at whenever we do a competing contract, we're looking at the lowest level possible that we can as to who the customer is, to then do this assessment. So this is exactly what you would expect. We're looking at all the capabilities. We're looking at past performance with that particular customer. Go down. It's not just the Air Force. It's Air Force Research Lab, if it's that, et cetera. And we're proposing, who are your potential competitors on this? If it's an IDIQ, if it's a task order off the IDIQ, we're looking at who has that particular IDIQ. So it's assessing that, and we are telling you, it has to be believable, it has to be explainable. So that's why we're telling you, this is why we think that they are a competitor. You may not believe us. There's a lot of capture managers I didn't believe, and they were human beings. But this is, we try and explain to you this is why. And you can run this again and again and again just to get a good feel for who this is. So here, I guess Peraton is in the house, so I apologize for this. Suggest that Peraton is a primary competitor, because I guess on this one it was sole source. Why is it saying sole source? It's because Peraton got a sole source for the next iteration of the current contract. We put this opportunity of, okay, after they're done with the sole source, it's going to get recompeted again after this. So this is the level of analysis we're doing and trying to figure out who are your competitors on that basis. Then the next question you're going to ask is, okay, again, we're at the beginning of it. I need to create a call plan. Who should I call? So we look at 2 different sources. We actually look at 3, but 2 main different sources. First of all, we do go take 3. We go take a look at your information before and see, who did you call on before? What were the titles of those people? Because that person maybe has changed out, so you want to call that title. So we look at your information. We look at the information the government is providing. And then I think at this point you all know we have our GovSearch team ran by Erica. Erica's sitting in the house back there. We look at our set of people and we say, okay, we think if you're going to pursue this, here are people that you should be calling for that. Then the next question is, and you don't have to run this, did we create a call plan here? Yes. So then the next question is, I remember when I sat in your seats, I would then turn to other people, because it wasn't going to be me calling on this customer, I wanted my CEO to call on this customer. I wanted General Schmuckatelli or somebody else to call on this customer. What's the first question you ask? Well, Mick, what am I supposed to say? What's my talk track? Can you give me all the background information? So not only do we say, here's who we think you should call as part of this capture, here should be the call plan for that particular individual. So this is what we think the agenda should be. This is the expected output of that call plan. Here's where we are, so you know our strengths, you know our weaknesses. So we're not only leading the horse to water, we're doing everything we can to actually shovel water into that horse's mouth of exactly, this is what you should be talking to that person about. And if it's you, it just helps you, because now you can print this off and walk into your customer and say, okay, this is where I am in this capture. Again, as you get further along with your capture, the call plan is going to evolve. It's going to get more detailed. A good capture, you're meeting with a customer time and time again. So that's what we're doing with the call plan portion of it. Then the next after that is, as a capture, you're going to say, well, should I even pursue this? Does this customer buy from the incumbent over and over again on this particular one? So we do a buying trend analysis. You all can read this. Again, I know he's clicking through this, and for that, I may lose some believability. So I do ask you all to go click on this yourself and go use it to prove out what I'm doing. I'm doing it for time purposes. But now we're going through it, and we're figuring out, as you can read through here, the assessment of that customer's buying plan. So it's looking at the customer, and if the customer uses GSA, FedSim, or whatever it be, we're looking at all the customers involved to figure out how do they buy? Because all of us, we hate wasting our time, and if they just continue to award, if it was awarded to Peraton 3 times in a row, why pursue it, right? So that's what this is assessing. Does it go small business typically? Well, you all do buying trend analysis as well. So this is what we go through. We tell you what we think is the buying trend, and then we give you examples of recent similar contracts that were awarded, so you can say, okay, I believe what was the output here. So we do buying trend analysis. Next one. Ultimately, now I'm at the very beginning. I'm at the qualifying phase. The question is, should I sub or should I prime? I don't expect you to take AI or TechnoMile's answer. We just want to be one voice in that room for you to think through why. So what I found interesting when we ran this one this morning, I think, when Yashaswi and I were setting this up, I take advantage. She actually set it up. I just get to take and represent her. If you remember back at gap analysis, remember I said it didn't look like he had many gaps, but yet here we are recommending that it's a subcontractor. Because when you come in here, we're like, when we looked at it, it's like, yeah, you have competitors where your customer relationship is weak. So you have all the capabilities, but we don't think you have it strong enough. So therefore, we're recommending. Doesn't mean you need to. TechnoMile told me to subcontract. I don't want to be known for that. Otherwise, I'm going to delist my phone number and email address. But hopefully, what you'll see is it's a voice in the room that says, this is our assessment of this. And what I tell folks, even if you don't believe it, your boss is going to ask these questions. Your boss is going to say, hey, I think we have a customer. So every aspect of this, believability, rationality, we've tried to lay this out to give you a full explanation as to why we said, the AI said what the AI said. Next one then, please, is investigate. Now, I will say this is the one, I love this one close to the most, but full admission, it's the one that we got to continue to hone in on, because the next question, well, who's going to be making the decision? Who's the SSA? Who's the SSEB? Raise your hand if that's an easy answer to get. I should see no hands, because it is the government protects it. So what we're doing is we're looking at, especially if it was your information, who was on the SSEB before? Who was the SSA before? What position did they hold? So if the government tells us, hey, here, Mick Fox is going to be the decision, okay, that's easy. But what we're trying to figure out is, are those people still there? Will they probably still be involved? Or who holds those positions today? So we do everything we can to try and figure out who's the SSEB. It gets better over time. What we have found is we did this on early stage opportunities. We did this on later stage opportunities. As you can imagine, as the opportunity gets more and more mature, this gets better and better to try and help determine who the SSEB is. Can you go to the next one? Teaming partners. Next question everybody asks is, well then, okay, who should I team with? So now we're looking at if you are a recommended to be in a sub, or you have in the CRM field, you put that you're subbing. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to go try and find you a prime. If you're a prime, it looked at like business requirements. How much small business do you need? Do you need woman-owned? Do you need SDVOSB, et cetera? And it's saying, hey, we're going to start recommending partners. What I have found with this, we limited it to 10 because it can be overload. But after you do this, you can keep clicking, can you show me more? Can you show me more? Can you show me more? And once again, I repeat, we're trying to give you a justification. Not trying, we are giving you a justification as to why did we choose GDIT? Well, here's the reason for it. Now, on top of this, every one of these, and I said this before, you can then go ahead and hit, yeah, save this. and it'll save it to your system. So back to the point of typing things in, just hit, yes, I want to save this, and it'll save all this information as partners back into the system. And I'm looking at the time, I'm getting short here, and I want to do Q&A here. I'm going to get through the last couple pretty quickly, but unfortunately, they're the most proud here. So the next thing is you got to figure out, hey, I got to start developing a solution. So what we've laid out is we know all the capabilities. Here's what we think you ought to, what the customer has been wanting. What is it you can offer based upon your past performance? What's a strategy to compete, because you now know who you think you're going to compete against. What's the strategy to address that? And then what action? What you're going to see in just a moment, I have a capture plan creation. It's looking at all these actions, and it's going to put those together for the capture plan. And I'm speeding things up just because of time, but I do invite you all to go ahead and ask me questions or back in the Customer Experience Lounge. The win strategy now, based upon everything we've collected to this point, how do you go about winning this? So how do you position for this? So you can see we go through there, what's your management solution? What's your technical solution? Should you emphasize technical? Should you emphasize management? Do you have the past performance? All the areas that I've seen you all, the way that I used to look at this as well, key personnel. We do go take a look at recent hires of companies that are out there, especially of the ones that you said are competitors. PR announcements, they make it public, right? We all do it, right? We all snoop on each other, and we take a look at what positions do they have open, what positions are they filled. We're looking at those. So it goes through that. Next one, and then I will, then together, we then take all of that and we start to create their capture plan. But what we do here with the capture plan, it isn't just a table, although it gets saved as a table. If you hit yes, it turns every one of these into an action inside your CRM. So now you can take those actions and assign them out to people and put timeframes against them as well. And then the last one is, and this actually will feed in, I'm pointing to Vishwas from P1 AI because he's our next presenter, I'm just going to introduce him, is from all of this, what do we think your win themes should be? Based upon who your competitors are, if you have chosen partners and you've put those into your system, who your partners are. Our best guess, these should be your win themes. And by the way, we have these because then they feed back into your call plan, they feed back into the other items. I think I'm out of breath and out of altitude here. I do want to, yes, so this is, as I told you before, 2 ways to get to this is to go through that Capture Copilot, but you also can click on that little icon up there, which I'm told is not a cat or a dog or an alien. It's actually it's a Salesforce Astro. But you can do the same thing here and just choose that particular output. Choose this as the way to get to it. Last thing is, going back to slides, and I'm only having 1 minute, and then I will take as many questions as before we get kicked out of here, this is why I think I've already hit all of these, so I'm not going to bore you with this. This is the way that we're looking at things, is that today it's all about the BDer. I just put 6 up there. Obviously, I put TechnoMile first, but I put 6 up there, but there's probably more than just those 6 tools that you're using. But the way that we're looking at it is all of your CEOs, at least the ones that we've been talking to, are like, look, I got to get more out of my BD engine. And so what we've been talking about is quit thinking them as just BD, think of them as revenue generators in any capacity. And so that's how we're thinking about it. How's the difference? These are people who, where is there a dollar on the street that I can pick up? And so what we believe that we've created is between all of these different things that you have seen, we believe we've created a system that begins to allow your BDers, capture managers, to be helping you generate the revenue. And I think that is it, correct? Oh, next steps. So with Salesforce, we are just now this week finalizing the packaging of this. So we expect it to be done this week. We're going to deploy it a couple times to the lucky customers who have said, I'll be a beta person. You can go ahead and deploy it on my system to test it out. So we're doing that over the next 2 weeks. And then from there, we are ready to upgrade you. I see Stephen in the back here. Talk to your customer success person to be able to schedule the deployment of our package. That's for Salesforce. As I said, for Microsoft, we're talking to Microsoft literally almost every day. We're trying to make sure that we're getting all the right Copilot SKUs. Because you're going to ask us, well, how much is my Microsoft going to cost for this, et cetera. So we're getting all that sorted out. We've been porting all the logic over, so that currently in development, that's ongoing. So I stand up here in front of you saying that everything I just showed you will be available from Microsoft. I'm giving myself a wide gap here. I'm saying first quarter. I think it's going to be earlier in the quarter, not later, but the developers in the room will say the end of the quarter. So we're already on the way here, but we're anticipating all the logic's the same. It's just putting it into their Copilot formats versus the Agentforce formats for that. With that, I'm out of breath, out of altitude. I would love to take questions, even though I hear that we're done. But hopefully you saw value in what we just presented. Hopefully you all get what it is we're accomplishing, and hopefully you all will see it. And then if you'd stick around for the last presentation, we're going to sell it to you on a consumer consumption basis. So therefore, you only have to pay for what you use. That's my tee up for the final presentation of the day. I will take a question or two if anybody remains, but I know we're out of time. Do I have any questions? Just a second, everyone. 1 second.
Agentforce and customizing the Agentforce prompts, is that kind of a non-starter? Or
One more time.
the Agentforce prompts that you have preloaded and customizing for our business case or our use cases with actual fields or making them more custom to our business situation, is it meant to be more out of the box of what you guys have developed, or are we?
So it's meant to be out of the box. As it gets deployed, it's meant to be out of the box for where it's directing the output, which field it directs the output. It's directing it to a growth field today. That's where it's being directed.
So when you guys start doing updates or fixing your prompts or updating your prompts to be more specific, start to be included in your releases that are
Yes.
don't use those to custom.
Yeah, you'll be able to use it. It's like a flow. You'll be able to use it as like a template, but you won't be able to update our underlying technology. All right, we have about 10 minutes before the next session starts. Mick teed it up already. We have AI-powered proposal. There's also a contracts one going on next door for automating the full life cycle with AI agents. So similar to what you saw here, but just on the contract side. But yeah, otherwise, talk to us in the CX Lounge. Mick and I will be there.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.